Welcome, this is the Apostate Prophet. The phrase Christ is King has been trending.
As a Christian, you'd wake up and see that Christ is King is trending and be like, ooh, this is cool. People are proclaiming that Christ is King. That's cool.
Hallelujah.
I was like, wait a minute. You see Sneeko and Andrew Tate saying it, and it's like, wait, something is getting. Matter of fact, that's exactly what happened earlier today. John McCrae, what do you mean? He messaged me, goes, hey, what's up with like Andrew Tate and Sneeko talking about Christ as King? Is there something going on there? Or are they just what's going on? I'm like, no, there's something going on. There's something going on. Given that I don't have much respect for the intellectual abilities of the people behind this recent trend, it's pretty brilliant. It's evil, but pretty brilliant. And guys, keep in mind, I don't mean Christ is King. I mean, what the stunt that they just pulled. This is not new. It's been going on for a while, but it just took off. A combination of factors came together. So this has been going on for a while. Then a combination of factors, namely lots of anger towards Jews right now, combined to get lots of Muslims on board with it and to be pushing it as well. So now you've got Muslims going around proclaiming Christ is Lord, Christ is King, to stick it to Jews, which is very interesting.
I see lots of people go around and say, how dare they tell us what we can and can't say? I will say Christ is King, and I will proudly say it. The issue is I see nobody who is actually saying, hey, don't say that. We're going to shut it down. Don't say that. We are offended. Especially, certain people are arguing that Jews are calling it anti-Semitic and Jews are complaining about it. And I have not seen a single significant Jewish person who has actually complained about the phrase so far.
No, the current debate is Christians explaining why this is trending and saying you should not jump on board this trend because of where it's coming from, versus Christians who are going, what? You're telling me not to say Christ is King? What? So it's mostly Christians arguing. It's mostly Christians arguing about this. One side pointing out who's using this and who's using this for manipulation purposes. Yeah. And then and then on the other side, you have a lot of well-meaning people going, what? People are attacking the claim that Christ is King? And then you have all the Muslims who are using it, and of course all the people who are the ones who set this in motion, namely a bunch of neo-Nazis, white nationalists, and so on, who use it in a again pretty brilliant but evil fashion.
Powerful stuff. So here we have one of these geniuses, one of these fantastic people here, by the name of Sneeko. The great respected Islamic scholar Sneeko.
That's not the first time Sneeko has said Christ is King. I mean, he may have said it many times, but he said it once before where I saw him say it. Oh. And where I saw him say it was that famous Nick Fuentes Groyper rally where Fuentes got banned because he actually called for killing Jews. And so it got banned off everything except some weird platform that we had to try and track down what he said on. But in that exact same video, after Nick Fuentes advocated killing Jews, Sneeko gets up, declares that Nick Fuentes is inevitably going to be president of the United States, and Sneeko declared Christ is King, because that's the saying of the Groypers. Calling someone the Christ is connected to calling him the Son of God. You see this over and over again. When Jesus asks his disciples, who do you say I am? Peter says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God, right? Those are connected. Christ, the Son of the living God. In Mark 14, at his Jewish trial, the high priest asked him, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One, right? So these things are connected. The meaning of Christ is connected to being the Son of God. And so when Islam calls Jesus the Christ, it's like, gosh, you guys don't even know what you're talking about. You don't, because Muhammad didn't understand the theological implications of calling Jesus the Messiah, given the claims that Jesus was making. If Jesus was making these claims and he's the Messiah and he speaks truthfully, then he is who he claimed to be, and he claimed to be the divine Son of God. So you've got Christ, then you're calling him king. So a Muslim can justify this and say, well, we believe that he's the Messiah and that he's going to return to judge and so on. So he's going to return. But if you're saying he's king right now, then he's king in some transcendent sense. He's the ruler. He's ruling over what? He's with Allah, according to Islam. So if he's ruling right now, he is king. He was king back then. He's king now. He's going to return as king in the future. It's you're living right now under the providence of your divine king, Muslims. So yeah, so that's another thing. And yeah, so Christ is king. And so you have those issues, and this all goes back to Muhammad. He didn't understand the implications of some of these things, and neither do his followers right now. And it's pretty hilarious to watch.
When somebody says Christ is king, they are basically affirming that Christ is still at the present, at the moment, the divine authority over them, the authority over them in some transcendent sense. So if a Muslim jumps on this bandwagon, it's like, oh, look at this, look at it, look at this, look at this, perfect opportunity, they're attacking the Jews, let's join in, let's also say Christ is king. What they're actually doing is they are stupidly renouncing their Islamic beliefs and affirming that Christianity is true, that Jesus is also their Lord, and not only the Lord of Christians. So that to them, Jesus is Lord. This is how dumb it is.
We haven't even gone into the real problem with this yet. We're just pointing out the issue of Muslims calling Christ king. It's like, if you say Henry VIII is king, that makes no sense. He's gone. He's not king anymore. He was king. He's not king anymore. If you say Charles I is king, it doesn't make any sense. He was king. He's not king anymore. If you say, hey, my great-great-grandson will be king, that makes sense. To say that my great-great-grandson is king right now makes absolutely no sense. To say Christ is king, you're saying the Messiah is, even for a Muslim to say this, you're saying that the Messiah, who's in the presence of Allah, is king. He's ruling over everything. And that's very interesting. Check out who's trending. You zoomed out of it. Check out who's trending.
Who's trending? Nick Fuentes.
Oh, yeah. I wonder why that is with the whole Christ is king thing going on.
So Milk Bar posted this. He said, Andrew Tate, Christ is king. Also Andrew Tate. Yes, he made this meme. This is directly from his own space, from his own war room. His own people actually created this and posted this. And he's aware of it. He shared it in the past, I believe. So that is... This basically says everything we need to know about Andrew Tate at this point within this discussion. He doesn't care. He just uses current memes. He just uses the current opportunity to make himself relevant, to say something, to appeal to his new friends, the Muslims, and so on.
And then you go up and you take your first communion, you're eating the body of Christ in a cracker. So is this cannibalism? Why am I eating a cracker? What part of the body of Jesus is this? Is this the toe part of Jesus am I eating? Is it the butt? It's his body. Kids are drinking wine. Kids are getting drunk. It's the blood. It's wine. Why are we giving kids alcohol? And you're drinking Jesus' blood? It's a little satanic to be drinking a dude's blood.
Yeah, there's Sneeko, who proclaims that Christ is king.
But he will jump on the bandwagon and say Christ is king just to attack Jews.
Indeed.
And this is a perfect place to start the conversation, actually, which is why I'm going with Sneeko. The entire purpose here, when Sneeko uses this phrase and says Christ is king, his purpose here is not to affirm beliefs in Jesus. His purpose is not to stand with Christians. His purpose is not to respect Jesus. His purpose is none of these things. The purpose here is entirely to attack Jews. That's all there is, and that's what the whole controversy is about. All day today, the phrase "Christ is King" was trending, and people were arguing about it forever. Oh, this guy's pointing on Sneeko. This isn't Islamically correct. Jesus was not a king or the king. He was a mere mortal like all of us. Allah is the only king.
Well, yeah, because that's one of Allah's 99 names.
Nick Fuentes. And you also see here the trend immediately. So this is on the Sneeko's post. 1,000 likes. Just a picture of Nick Fuentes proclaiming Christ is king. And so the Groypers are here. The Groypers, who are Nick Fuentes' people who try to sneak into any conservative or Christian space and infiltrated and infected with neo-Nazi ideas. One of the main people, actually, who started turning this big non-issue into an issue is of course Candace Owens. She tweeted earlier today. She said, "The reason why some people believe that with enough insistence they can convince American Christians that the basic truth, Christ is King, is actually anti-Semitic, is because they have been successfully spiking the ball on Christianity for the past 60 years." First off, nobody is actually... The only people who hinted at this being anti-Semitic were some from within the Christian circle who made such a suggestion, but who didn't even say that the phrase itself is anti-Semitic. Nobody ever suggested such a thing. No significant person anywhere suggested such a thing. So she is talking about something that never happened. The discussion is about something that never happened. Correct me if I'm wrong, David. Did you see anybody who said, "Oh, no, we shouldn't use the phrase. The phrase is anti-Semitic"?
No, the warning came about the people who are using it. And matter of fact, let me go ahead and break all this down for viewers, AP, because you still will have people watching right now going, "What? Why are you guys? Why would that be an issue? How could that be? How could that be an issue where Christians would even question the claim that Christ is King?" Let's talk about a different movement that used the exact same method, which I can't prove this, but I would guess Nick Fuentes got this from Black Lives Matter. He got the tactic, the scheme from Black Lives Matter. So Black Lives Matter, the people who started that movement were Marxists, trained Marxists who trained and studied how to infiltrate the West, a Western audience. Well, guess what? You can't go to a Western audience and say, "Hey, we're Marxists. We want to spread Marxism here." It won't work. When you say Marxism, people aren't listening to you. They're not going to take that seriously. So what do? Black Lives Matter. In a perfect situation where you have a lot of tension because you had the police and you had the shootings that have been going on, that were all over the news, and they jump in there with Black Lives Matter, and they use that as a shield for Marxists, for their Marxist ideology that they're marching with. And there was also a component to it that was just a complete grift. They are trying to get millions of dollars in donations, and what do they do with it? They like bought mansions and stuff. And Candace, to her credit, she actually exposed that. She showed where the funds that were being donated to Black Lives Matter were actually going. These guys are, again, buying mansions and stuff. But notice, you can't sell Marxism to a Western audience, but you can wrap it up in the claim Black Lives Matter. Now think about the claim Black Lives Matter. Who would object to that besides a complete scumbag, like the most racist person in the world? Who would object to the claim that Black Lives Matter? Who would object to that claim? And they're going around, say Black Lives Matter. You have to support Black Lives Matter. You have to send donations to Black Lives Matter. And then wait a minute, I actually got a problem with this movement. Oh, see, this person is against Black Lives Mattering. This person's a racist. Like, wait a minute, no. You're using that as a shield for your actual agenda and the ideology that you're promoting. This isn't about Black Lives Mattering. That's not what you're using that for. You're using that to dupe a bunch of people into siding with your organization, and you're using it as a weapon so that anyone who objects to your actual agenda and your actual goals, you can demonize them by saying they're against Black Lives Mattering. Brilliant strategy. So keep in mind the parallel here. Marxist, very difficult to sell in the West. Marxism is very difficult to sell. So what do? You put a mask on it. You use Black Lives Matter as a shield. You use the slogan as a shield, right? Guess what? Neo-Nazis trying to sell a white nationalist agenda. We want a white Christian nation only. Well, every Christian I know is going to think that's insane and idiotic. So you're not going to be able to sell that to a Christian audience. We want a white nation of only white Christians. Almost no one's interested in that. Remember, Nick Fuentes was bragging about his 500 followers. We're going to take over the world because we've got 500 followers and so on. Okay, no one's going to buy that. So what do? You start saying Christ is king. You start saying Christ is king. And when people object to what you're saying, what? Oh, this person's got a problem with saying Christ is king. And these guys, their main enemy is the Jews. The main enemy of the Nick Fuentes crew is the Jews. That's what they're obsessed with. Almost every tweet is about Jews. So they weaponize it against Jews. And I've read a bunch of the tweets that are like, you filthy, slimy Jew. Jesus is king. Christ is king. They'll say it right after including all that. And then when someone objects, it's, oh, you see, they're against Christ being king. They're against that. And so you have this, again, using the exact same methodology that Black Lives Matter used. Marxism is a hard sell. Wrap it up in the slogan, Black Lives Matter. Neo-Nazi, white nationalist, white supremacist stuff, pretty hard to sell to most people. Wrap it up in the claim that Christ is king. Do that. And then when anyone attacks your group and your goals and your agenda, you say, what? They're attacking the claim that Christ is king. Everyone, Christians, do you see what they're doing? Muslims, do you see what they're doing? And that's why you got Muslims jumping on the bandwagon. They know it. Muslims didn't wake up one day and say, aha, we're going to declare that Christ is king. It's not. They say that this is being used by neo-Nazis against Jews, and they definitely want to be part of that bandwagon.
This is what we're dealing with. These are the people who are trying to steer the conversations today. Anyway, inch by inch, by pretending to be our friends and making us fearful of having the media project us as overzealous, is how they have scored so many wins. It's how mocking Christ has become commonplace in Hollywood. Okay, you could say that. Completely irrelevant to the discussion at hand, though. The reality is that they accuse us of what they are guilty of. They hold contempt for Christianity. The reality is that Christ consciousness is rising throughout the world, and any person who is attempting to use methods of psychology to make people pause before they profess their faith is not on the side of goodness.
Yeah, so this is Candace making it look like it's people who hate Christ coming from the outside and saying, you can't say Christ is king. That's anti-Semitic. No, it's Christians. It's mainly Christians who know that this is being kicked off by neo-Nazis and white supremacists to weaponize, to conceal their own motives by weaponizing a slogan and getting Muslims on board so that everyone can be united and so that they can all hide behind the slogan, Christ is king, so that when they are criticized, when these groups are criticized for racism, for anti-Semitism and so on, they can just say, what? We're just saying that Christ is king. That's all we're saying. What? All we said was Black Lives Matter. Why are you accusing us of being Marxists?
Now, David, if I was a Christian, I don't know how to express this as an outsider, right? But if I was a Christian and I saw Kenneth say these things, knowing what's actually going on here, I personally would feel disgusted by Candace, and I would feel disgusted by these crowds who are driving this narrative and who are pushing this weird, this weird narrative that is going on here. Because what is happening here is that Candace is pretty much, as it seems, okay, there is a possibility that she's really dumb and she doesn't understand what's going on. But the more likely possibility, I would say, is that she is basically using Christianity for her own agenda, for her own popularity, to be relevant, to have a fight going on, to pit people against each other. I don't know, whatever it is, but she is using Christianity. She is creating a straw man here, that people are saying that Christ is king is anti-Semitic. Nobody is saying that.
It's Nick Fuentes and the Groypers and Sneeko, who's buddies with them, and a bunch of neo-Nazis and white supremacists taking a phrase to shield their view from criticism, so that when they're blasting, every time they're blasting Jews, they're attaching Christ is king to it, so that anytime anyone objects, they say, what are you talking about? See, we're just claiming Christ is king, man. We're just claiming Christ is king.
Yeah. So it says, how is saying Christ is king anti-Semitic? The same way anything becomes anti-Semitic when it is used for the purpose of expressing anti-Semitism. So far, completely logical, and I agree with it entirely. It's like asking, how does a shovel become a murder weapon? When it is used to murder someone, this isn't hard. A shovel is not innately a murder weapon. Saying Christ is king is not innately anti-Semitic. It's all about how a thing is used. Saying eat some cornbread is not racist if I say it to my 3-year-old when she's refusing her dinner. If I start saying it as a response to X posts by black commentators I don't like, it has taken on a meaning beyond what is innate. In other words, it is connotatively racist, not denotatively racist. So, too, Christ is king may be anti-Semitic in connotation, while not in denotation when it is being used to express anti-Semitism. This comparison is very much on point. Nobody can say a shovel is... You can't use a shovel. How can you use a shovel? It's a murder weapon. How can you use a shovel? It's a murder weapon. Don't you think about all the murder victims? You will be seen as a murderer if you use a shovel. Well, nobody can say this. But if you use it to actually murder somebody, then in that case, you have used it as a murder weapon. The phrase Christ is king itself is not anti-Semitic and does not become at any point anti-Semitic. You use it in an anti-Semitic way if you specifically jump on the bandwagon of these neo-Nazis who set up the situation this way and join their train and use it against Jews and post memes about Jews while saying Christ is king. Then you are using it for anti-Semitism. That's basically what's happening. And
yeah,
how can you deny that?
Yeah, and likewise, the claim or the slogan Black Lives Matter is true and correct and good if it's used by Marxists to promote a Marxist agenda and you object to it on that basis. Say, okay, when did it become Marxist? If it's being used by Marxists to shield themselves from criticism, to shield their real goals from criticism. So you could take pretty much anything and do this, anything that's true. And by the way, that's why you pick these things. You don't pick some saying that no one's going to agree with. You pick a saying that tons of people are going to agree with, and you use that to cloak what you're really up to, which is what these guys are doing.
Additionally, saying Christ is king for an evil purpose, like using it as a weapon to express your hatred or disdain for the Jews, is a grave sin. It plainly violates the third commandment, thou shalt not carry forth the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
I would agree with that. If you're using the claim just for some agenda and not to proclaim that Christ is king, that would be pretty parallel to using the name of the Lord in vain. Like just babbling it rather than meaning what you're saying.
So this is the funny thing. This very much brings it to the point. This guy himself is a Christian. He's not Jewish. So the guy at whom everyone is pointing is like, look, they are trying to say this is anti-Semitic. He's a Christian. He is a Christian. Surely if I rape and murder someone like Hamas did on 10/7, and all the while I shout at them, Christ is king or God is great, we would agree that I have committed 3 grievous crimes, not 2. Rape, yes. Murder, yes. But also the great crime of implicating God in the first 2 crimes.
Correct.
So one must be cautious how one uses the name of God. God will not be mocked. Invoking him in vain, self-promotion, or to troll Jews, or to attack your political rivals is to carry forth his name in vain. How is this controversial? I feel like anyone who has an issue with this either didn't read this, didn't understand this, or just doesn't want to listen to anything and just wants to attack Jews. That's it.
Yeah, no, this is easy to fall for, which is why so many people are falling for it. If you just jump in this conversation in the middle of nowhere, you see Christ is king trending, and you click on it and you see a bunch of people posting Christ is king. You think, wow, that's great. That's good. People are proclaiming Christ is king. And then you see people objecting to it, going, no, this is anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitic. It's anti-Semitic to say this sort of thing. You say, what the heck is wrong with you, man? How much you actually believe Christ is king if you're saying it's a hateful claim. So they have no idea what's going on. And they don't know the background that this is a bunch of neo-Nazis trying to hijack something in order to manipulate gullible people into joining them in hating Jews. So it is being used for an anti-Semitic purpose, just as Black Lives Matter was used for a Marxist purpose. what do you do in this situation, right? Like you can't let the neo-Nazis hijack it so that you can't say it anymore. In other words, you can't just ruin the phrase forever so that you can never say Christ is king anymore because it's associated with neo-Nazi stuff. So you got to figure out what to do. It's relevant to be concerned about that. But I'll just say, if you got a bunch of neo-Nazis running around using it this way, this is not a good time to say, hey, you know what? I really need to be proclaiming Christ is king in those words, the exact same words that are being used as a slogan by the neo-Nazis right now.
Lauren Shen said, to everyone lamenting that those proclaiming Christ is king aren't merely using it as a statement of faith. You're right. People aren't just using it as a statement of faith. It's also a statement of fact. And pertinently, it's becoming a statement of intent. When I see people writing Christ is king, what I see are people saying they intend to stand for Christ, even amidst those who tell them not to and who try to silence them. I'm still wondering who is trying to silence these people. And I wouldn't say that these people who are just using this phrase now for a political point are people who are very compassionate about Christ. I personally don't think that is true, but that's just me.
No, I'm sure you have some, but they're falling for it. They're falling for they got duped. It's like there were plenty of people saying Black Lives Matter who just believe Black Lives Matter. They're not interested in Marxism. They're not interested in everything else that the organization was attached to. They believe that hey, I support this because Black lives do matter. And those were the target audience. If you have a bunch of people who believe something, you can use some claim that is important to them for a grift.
Haunchonity says Candace Owens created her account in June of 2017. The first time she tweeted Christ is king was in November of 2023. How dull do you have to be not to see through this obvious grift? Now, to be fair, it could be that Candace just recently became very, very passionate about her Christian belief. Could be.
Yeah, look at the date there. That's really that's November 14th. That's when she started. That's when she was having her fallout with the Daily Wire, right? And that's when she became the hero of lots of Muslims, lots of. I mean, keep in mind, you can have you can definitely have sincere people who aren't evil calling for ceasefire and things like that. You can be that, but the people who started rallying around her after that were the people who really don't like Jews of various groups. And so then she says it in that context.
Let's see what Clavin is saying here. Maybe he did say that the phrase Christ is king is anti-Semitic. Let's see.
When I did this, by the way, the priest who baptized me said, Christians won't accept you. You'll still be a Jew. And I said, well, I am. That's my race. I'm a Jew. I'm proud of my race. It's a great race. It's done many, many great things, including write the Bible. And, I am a Jew. But that hasn't happened at all. Christians have welcomed me with open arms, except this Christ the King anti-Semitic crowd. Christ is the king, and one day every knee will bow and recognize.
Wait.
Just said Christ is king.
People are telling me that he said Christ is king is anti-Semitic, but he just said Christ is king.
And he said he's talking about an anti-Semitic crowd who is saying Christ is king. And that he said Christ is king.
It almost sounds like people are misrepresenting this guy.
Shocker.
Christ is the king, and one day every knee will bow and recognize it, because he's not just my king, he's king of...
Whoa, he's anti-Semitic.
He's not just my king, he's king of kings.
The universe. But when you use that phrase to mean that God has abandoned his chosen people, the Jews, through whom he came into this world incarnate, and that he's broken his promises, his covenant with the Jews, you are quoting scripture like Satan does in the Bible. You are quoting scripture to your purposes, and that to me is specifically wicked.
It's not just that. It's not just you're saying, if you're saying Christ is king and you're a groiper, that you're saying God has abandoned his people or something like that. I mean, these guys they want Jews eliminated, right? They want Jews eradicated. So he's actually giving a very, very tame interpretation.
Yeah, I don't know why he's being
what these guys are about. What he's saying about the phrase Christ is king And he went ahead and said it. So he obviously can't be saying the phrase is anti-Semitic because he said it himself. The fact that he's pointing out that this is kind of an anti-Semitic dog whistle being used by people, of course, yes, it's being used by people to manipulate Christians into siding with them on issues that they would not otherwise side with them on.
The funny thing about all of this is that this guy is being brought up, including by people in the chat here, as one of the people who said that it is actually anti-Semitic, and yet he doesn't say any such thing, and he himself affirms the phrase.
He said it. He said Christ is king. He said King of Kings. He's King of Kings. And he said every knee will bow. It's like, wait. So every Jewish knee is going to bow. That's what he's saying. And
honestly, I think he's being too soft, and he's he doesn't he's not being direct and clear enough about the people who are actually deceptively and maliciously using the phrase, and he doesn't understand how certain people are indeed trying to weaponize and sneak into the crowds that normally and passionately and religiously use it in order to attack Jews, and then deceive other Christians into thinking that this is a battle between Jews and Christians. He should be. I think he should have done more to address that. He's being very mild in his response to the whole issue, but the guy is not at all saying anything that these people here are accusing him of saying. He himself says Christ is king. Every knee will bow. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. He seems to have observed how people are using this with Ben Shapiro, and he's looking at them and seeing that they're using the phrase just to like throw it in the face of Jews. And so he's saying this is coming from an anti-Semitic crowd. But yeah, he doesn't seem to really be aware of where this is really coming from and who's pulling the strings on this movement. And yeah, it's like straight up neo-Nazis trying to rally support from Muslims and Christians against Jews. And yeah, you just have to say, we're not letting you get away with that, guys.
This person is obviously just trying to express their belief in Jesus. But
that should say Christ is king and a Jew. That's what that should say.
She's one of those people who are lately falling for the whole idea that Islam isn't actually that bad. I've tried to explain the similarities between Islam and Christianity, and will have Muslims agree with me, but then a bunch of people who have read like 2 verses from the Hadith, which they think is the same as the Quran, will be like, no, they want to kill us all. She also said that most of Islam is misunderstood and peaceful or something like that. I don't know. She needs to have somebody educate her on the basics of Islam.
It really seems like people go through this phase, and it seems like they go through this phase where then their popularity declines, and it doesn't have to be intentional. It's just I have to expand to new groups and stuff, and people just gravitate towards getting a Muslim crowd. That's Sneeko, that's Andrew Tate, that's it's Jake Shields. It's everyone's like, hey, if I want an instant bunch of followers to tack on to my already existent followers, just start saying some stuff. Just start saying some stuff that's nice about Islam or against Jews. And
look at this imbecile. The owner of Daily Wire doesn't want you saying Christ is king. I bet most of you dumb Christians keep paying a membership and blessing the terrorist state of Israel. And he even quote tweets it. Like I can't even accuse him of twisting it and hiding the truth. He actually quotes the tweet, and then it says, and then claims the owner of the Daily Wire doesn't want you saying Christ is king. David, we just read the tweet.
Not what he says. Not what he says at all.
We just read the tweet, and he doesn't say any such thing at all. On the contrary, he tells Christians, no, say it. Say it. Continue saying it. Proudly say it. Declare it. And it's true. But if you use it in this way, then this is evil. And you're disrespecting God. That's what he says. And this guy is saying, the owner of the Daily Wire doesn't want you saying Christ is king.
Yeah, it's all one massive straw man, right? They're all attacking something that no one is saying. No one is saying what they claim everyone is saying.
Here, it says, people shouldn't say Christ is king in self-righteous mockery of other people. Don't tell me I can't say Christ is king as it's a true statement. I didn't say that. I'm just saying don't take the Lord's name in vain. Christ is king, and you're telling me I can never proclaim it. Stop pretending you don't understand exactly what I mean. This is pretty much what's happening here.
That's a good little meme there.
Yeah. It's not as good as I thought it was at first, but yeah, it's
pretty good. It's pretty good. We should try and make a better one. Ooh, we should make some memes about this.
This is the general attitude.
I ain't reading all that. Christ is king.
Yeah. Pretty sure that this is true for most of the people who are outraged about Jeremy Boring. They actually haven't read the text here. Have just concluded that that he says Christ is king is anti-Semitic. So therefore, they once again repeat Christ is king. Okay,
that's it. By the way, that's an ongoing issue that you can say someone said something and even link to it. And people are so freaking dumb. It's like Muhammad Hijab saying, oh, here's the article that says there's a 100-to-1 ratio of civilian to fighter casualties. And every last one of his moron fans go, oh, yeah, it's right there. He shared the link. It's right there. 100-to-1. It's 100-to-1. That's right. Oh, man. When if you can even read words, it's not what anyone is saying. But it's a version of the 99-1 rule. If 100 people read you saying this person said this and even linking to it, like maybe one person actually reads it and goes, that's not what the dude's saying, but 99 just roll with it. So if 99% of the people are going, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're saying that, and then they run and freak out, and then a bunch of other people respond, then all of a sudden you got millions of people freaking out. Oh my goodness, they're saying that Christians can never say Christ is king. Oh, we have to stand up for Jesus right now.
Yeah. Lots of these neo-Nazis misuse a certain phrase or a certain term in the Bible, which is the synagogue of Satan. And they bring this up often to act like this is a statement clearly from the scripture about Jews, about all Jews. I read the passages myself. It's clearly not. And this could be something interesting to go into on a Christian platform. From I don't know if you want to do that or if somebody else wants.
No,
to
that
do
would be good for that would be good to get vocab up in there, because the Black Hebrew Israelites use this a lot. Like they're the real Jews, and the Jews who are pretending to be Jews, they're the synagogue of Satan. So yeah, vocab's done a lot. Yeah, that'd be good.
Peso said, so basically the phrase Christ is king has been hijacked to sing dog whistles while using Christianity as a shield. Pretty much.
And guys, so there is the issue. The real issue right now from a Christian perspective is what you do about this situation, because you don't want to let a bunch of neo-Nazis hijack the phrase Christ is king. So I haven't thought through this a ton, because this being this huge issue is brand new. They've been doing this for a while, but this becoming a super huge issue is happening right now. So my gut would say start using Christ is king to expand upon the meaning and so on, for Muslims, like what I did I think I did it in a tweet. Did I do it in a tweet? Yeah, I did it in a tweet in a response to Sneeko. I pointed out that saying that Jesus being the Messiah is connected to him being the Son of God. So I would just start packing theology into discussions of the claim. Like, as in, if you're on Twitter or something like this, or you're making a video or on Facebook or whatever, hey, I see the phrase Christ is king is trending. Here's how it's being used, and then go into some basic Christian theology and gospel.
Gio says Andrew Clavin is a Jew who converted to Christianity. Why would he say Christ is king is anti-Semitic? Reuters aren't exactly known for their intelligence, but I mean, come on. Yeah, exactly. And we have right there on the video, which these guys even post and say, look what he's saying. He's saying Christ is king is an anti-Semitic dog whistle. Right on that video, he stops and says Christ is king and every knee will bow. Have a fantastic day. And as always, David.
Stay away from Islam. Yeah.
Stay away from Islam.